friend and I went to the neighborhood pool with my mum. As usual, we
Hey
set up our
guys,
towels and other
Bubbles
pool supplies
Reborn's
at a
here.
table. Keep in
I
mind,
have
this
baby
was the last day
Ella.
we left. We
I'm going to
started to
give her
spray
a
our
bath.
sunscreen on when Miss Mum shows up with a toddler and a kid that looked about
Miss
9.
Tina back
They walked through
here.
the gates and started
I
walking
have
towards
all
us.
her stuff right here
Could
because
you
she
move your
is
stuff?
currently
Me and
in
my kids leave that table. So she
simulation. I
entitled
am
Mum
hoping she
gestured
does
towards
not go
my mum
off
to move. At this
while
point,
I'm
me and
trying
my friend were just in the pool
to
watching.
bathe.
So my mum tries to kindly
Ella.
explain how she was here first,
Quick
and the
update.
entitled mum looks annoyed and starts moaning. I have 2 kids,
Cannot
and I
remember
promised
if
we'd go
I
walking today. Do
told
you
you guys
really
or
want me
not,
to tell
but
them we can't
she
do it because
has
of you? And
a
my mum
twin
stands her
brother
ground and says,
currently being made.
excuse me?
He's
2
done.
kids.
He's
You
just
can find another spot or
waiting to
cover
get
it a
here
different
now,
time.
and
The
then
entitled mum then
he'll
starts
be
to
on
take
his
our
way
stuff
home.
off the table and puts her stuff on it.
Super
My
excited
mum
about
gets
that.
pissed
So
and
her
puts on
twin
a
brother
pretty
will
smile.
be here soon
She
enough.
yanks their bag off the table and gives
His
the
name is
entitled mum her
Eli.
bags. You and your little
Ella
monsters
and
can go
Eli.
elsewhere. So the entitled kid starts
But
crying
yeah,
and
so
asks
I
their mum
thought,
if they're going to be able to go to the pool.
why not
The
give her a
entitled mum
bath?
then snatches the bag from my mum and takes her kids to the gate and says,
Miss
sorry
Tina
sweetheart, but we
is
can't go because
quiet
this
back
lady
here
won't be kind
because
and give up her pen.
she kind of
Then
needed
she
a
looks back
bath
at
and
my
a
mum, who
powder.
guides her blast to the gate and leaves.
Stuff is starting to
Honestly,
stick to
my
her,
mum's the goddess
which I
of
haven't had
protection.
that problem
You
with
gotta
her
give props to the kid's mum when the
all that
entitled
much.
mum was
She's
coming
really
at her trying to guilt trip her into giving her the table
made
when she
well.
wasn't having fun. I've been to plenty of public pools and you definitely don't need a table. Just put
Unfortunately,
your stuff on the grass,
her
get a nice bow
artist
down, get a walker, whatever. You don't need a table. The only person
or
that ruins
their
these kids'
artist
days
has
is
said
their own mum.
they won't be doing customs anymore. Which
Efficiency power by 2035,
really sucks because
net
I love
zero
her
emission
work.
economy by 2050, creating millions of good paying
But
union jobs in the
some
process.
stuff has happened,
It's
so
possible. We're going to get it done, but I need your vote. And after you vote, I need your voice. Let's do this together.
I thought I would just give her a little bath. Thankfully, the way this is angled, it doesn't look like you guys can see anything, so I shouldn't get in trouble with YouTube because I know
Yeah, I'm sure it's the mess.
showing girl bits can get you in trouble.
Time passes. Sierra.
And unfortunately, I had to improvise a thing to powder her with because all my powder brushes have gone messy, along with my container of baby powder. Thankfully, I have spares, and this gel that I use to help put passies in. She doesn't have any issues with passies going in, but my other silicones, especially the one that I open the mouth on, does. So it's always nice to have that on hand. But she's really not that dirty, so this was just a little rinse that I wanted to do with her.
When I get the attention of their dad, he glares at me, so I start
Well,
talking
Tina
to
is
him casually, saying
quiet.
that because the child's under 8 years old,
Lots of
has to be
stuff has
actively
been
watching.
happening
No distractions from phones, books,
in my life.
As soon as I say this, he
I got
snaps
a
at
new
me and
job,
says,
but I
oh,
can't
she's up, which is so annoying because I know that he's lying, just not to watch his own child, who kind of
say
sits
where it
doing
is or
I
anything
explained that the girl has told me
because
she's 6 and she's a weak swimmer, so she does need to be watched for her own safety, to
my
which he replies, I'm her
ex-boyfriend
dad. I know how old she is, which is such a
has
bold-faced lie that
broken the
I can't
restraining
believe
order
it.
that I have
There are
against
so many
him
stories like this of me
multiple
being
times.
verbally abused, I guess because I dare to tell a parent
He was in
their
jail
kid's
for a little
actual age
bit
and that they can't go on a high risk
for
activity.
almost a month,
This is
and
going to be some
then
of the
they
most
just let him
neglectful
out
parenting that
on
I've come across in this city.
bond.
Yes,
So
there have been some terrible people who have
I
tried
can't
to take
really
other
say
people's
where
things and do other horrible things
I'm
like that,
working,
but not one person yet has put their own child's
so
life
that
in danger just
nothing
so they
will
can sit on their
happen.
phone
He
and
can't
check
stalk
their
me
text
there or
messages.
anything.
It's kind of sad to say this, but we're
But I
indoors
should be
to do
starting
together.
that here in the next
So,
couple of
my
weeks.
sister-in-law has one child. He's 8 years old. She does everything for him. E.g., he still gets his
And then
meals put in the fridge
her
to cool
brother
down
will
so that he
come,
doesn't throw a
and
tantrum having to wait for it to cool
yeah,
down. I know that it's probably not as big of a lot of
I'm
stories I
excited to
see
be
on
able to
here,
work
but I wanted to
because
vent about it anyway to see if others agree.
there's a few
So my
other
husband's
babies I
mum
want
is
to get
quiet, but she's humble, buying only what she needs and doesn't own anything
that I
extra.
want to save up
She
for.
has
Plus,
an iPad
Christmas is
that's a
right
couple
around
of
the
years
corner,
old
and I
and
can
uses
now
it for Facebook and
that I
Pinterest
have a
and so on.
job, be
It
able
works
to
fine.
get people
She
gifts.
often lets the 8-year-old
So
use it for games when he's at her
that's
house.
exciting.
This one time he's using it, it freezes because he has so many games open and
Right.
he throws it down on the floor and shuts this huge tantrum because the iPad isn't
Gentlemen,
working.
it's done.
Instead of telling me
It's
no,
all
my
done.
sister-in-law just says, I think it's time for
So what
Nana
I
to get
think
in the
I'm going to
library.
do is I'm going to
Tell me if
carefully
I'm
pull
wrong,
her
but I
out,
believe that's so
put her on the
disrespectful.
towel,
I would have smacked his ass
and
and
then
said you
move the
tied
baby
down.
bath so
If
that
you're
I
not happy
can
with someone else's
dry
fleas,
and
don't
powder
use them.
her,
The iPad is not damaged,
and
but
then
that's
get
not
her
the point.
dressed
It seems
where
pretty obvious
the
that this is
camera can see.
completely the mother's fault. She still babies him at 8 years old,
So
but it seems like he expects her to get
I'm
whatever he
going to
wants in
try to
life
get
whenever
him,
he wants.
her
It's
out
one thing to be
without
entitled around
showing
random people and people that you don't
any
care about,
bits.
but when it comes to your family and trying to rip
And
off your own
because my
family,
camera's
that's just
constantly
disgusting.
running
Rather than sponging off family members and other people,
out
why don't
of
you just go and get
storage,
it
I
yourself
am
next time? That would be the more respectful
filming
thing.
this live.
Alright
So it's not
everyone,
like I
that
could
is that for
stop it
today's video. I just want
and
to start
start
off by
it.
saying thank you so much for watching, and I hope you
And
enjoyed
I'm
the video.
using a
Given that I've been online the last few
paintbrush
days, I do want
to
to say I'm
powder
sorry
her
for not uploading.
because
I
I
know
don't
that
have
so many of you tell me to stop
a brush
apologizing, but
currently.
I'm trying my best to make sure
I
I
have to go
upload daily, and I'll try my best
replace
to keep
them.
myself healthy for next time.
So
Thank you
actually,
for all
I'm
the
going to
words
try
of
to move
support, all of you guys telling me
this,
to get well
and
soon,
then
giving me little tips on how to get better.
put the
It means the
towel
world
up
to me, and I
here.
really cannot thank you enough. Knowing that
See
there are
if
so
this
many people
works.
behind me and so many people who care really does put a smile on my face. You are making this community fantastic, and I love the direction this channel is moving. Sorry if I wasn't as enthusiastic or upbeat today. I'm probably still a couple of days of being 100% right. I just know I'm well enough to make these videos, and I really do want to push them out. Other than that, thank you for
That
the new
actually worked.
subscribers we've gotten recently. I think we've gotten about 6,000 in the last
Would
few
have been
days
easier
and
if I stood up,
15,000 in the
but
last week. That is
so here's
incredible,
your
and I
towel.
swear that is something that I never ever thought that I would get anywhere near in my life. So again, thank you all so much for tuning in every single day. I appreciate you all more than you know. But that is that for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you are having a fantastic day, and I'll see you all tomorrow for some nice films. Bye.
There we go. Straight that straight out.
Yo, what's up guys? It's Bonfreeze back with episode 24 of our Reddit series. This one's going to be some more entitled
Usually
parents,
I
and I
have
know you're going to
a
like this one. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video.
baby
Discord
towel,
server
but
link is now in the description, and I will be discussing it in a bit more detail at the end of the video. We are super close to
once
50,000
I
subscribers as
have
well, so if you haven't already, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. Now sit back,
don't dry
relax,
as
and
well
laugh at some
as
title
normal
parents.
towels. So I gotta pick
So
up
I'm
some
16 years old, and I'm about to go to a hot meal. So I
actual.
went to McDonald's and got myself a Big Mac. I get my
Too
food
much.
and then go to the bathroom
Sorry,
to wash
guys.
my hands. When I get back from the bathroom, there is an entitled parent and their son who have just walked in. I walk back to my table and sit down, and I'm about to start eating when the entitled parent and their son walk over to my table. Once
I'm
they're
gonna
at my
try to
table, the
keep.
entitled parent goes, "Hi there, sorry to bother you, but my son's very
I
good.
gotta
Can you have your
dry
burger?
wash that I can use to keep
Excuse me?
her
We're going to a show and we're running late, so can we have your
covered
burger?" "No,
while I
you
dry
can wait
her
in
and
line and buy your
powder
own."
her.
And then her son, almost as if he'd been training for this moment his entire life, says, "Mummy, I'm hungry." "Look what you're doing. You are the reason my son is hungry." "No, I'm not. It's not my fault you guys are late. Please go away." "Well, I'll just have to take it then." So the mum proceeds to grab my tray and walk away with it. I'm in shock, so I don't do anything for the first 5 seconds. The worker sees what's going on and comes over and asks me if there's a problem. "Yeah, this lady just took my meal to give it to her son." So he walks over to the lady and her son's table and says,
I think
"Excuse
what
me,
I'll do
is it true
is
that you just took this young man's meal?"
put her on
"Absolutely
her
not. This boy was being
tummy
rude to my son and tried to steal
to
my meal.
start with, so
Have
that
you
it's a
arrested
little
him for
bit
harassment?"
easier.
"I didn't do anything. You were the one who stole my stuff." And the worker says, "Can you show me the receipt of the meal?" I didn't ask for a receipt." So I pull out the receipt and say, "This is the receipt for the meal." And then she had the nerve to say, "He stole that from me as well." Long story short, they were kicked out and the worker gave me a free McFlurry. It's amazing what entitled parents think they can get away with. I couldn't help but laugh at the part where she says have him arrested for harassment. I would love to say I believe this one because it's definitely something that seems plausible and could actually happen, but that arrested for harassment just throws a real big spanner in the works. To be fair though, if the mum just offered the kids some money for the burger, let's say they're $3.50, she offers them $5 just because they were in a rush, fair enough. But to be that scummy to try and take it for free, that's horrible. Before I start this one, I just want to say this is probably the funniest story that I've seen on this so far. And while we're at it, don't you love those people that feel the need to explain that me is me, dad is my dad, and mum is my mum? Who else are they gonna be? Anyway, let's get into it because this is a good one.
So
My
let's go
brother,
ahead
let's call
and
him
powder.
Hayden, broke his leg in January. So when we went on our annual trip to Disneyland in February, we were given a wheelchair for him. We immediately went to our favorite ride, Splash Mountain. After getting to the front of the line, we got on and left the wheelchair where we were instructed to. My whole family was laughing about how scared my mum was. She was on sabbatical this year and it was her first time. But as soon as we see that Hayden's wheelchair is gone, we either shut up or burst a blood vessel. My mum got up first and asked what happened to my brother's wheelchair. I was very young, so this is obviously paraphrased. My mum says to the worker, "Where's Hayden's wheelchair?" And he responds by saying, "Didn't you already take it?" At this point, even I could figure out what had happened. While we were waiting for it to be found, we were given a replacement wheelchair, and a lot of apologies from the staff at Splash Mountain. They eventually found her, and when asked why she took it, she said, "Well, my kids were tired, so I thought if nobody was using it, then I could have it." She got kicked out, but was surprisingly understanding on why. She knew she was a piece of crap, and I can't tell if that's good or bad. For anyone who's actually been to Disneyland and required a wheelchair, it actually gives you an immediate front of the line pass. At least it was last time I was there. I can near on guarantee that the entire purpose of this lady stealing the wheelchair was that she saw other people getting to the front of the line all day and she couldn't be bothered waiting anymore. So instead of waiting in line like the other thousands of people, like the other normal people, she decides to steal a wheelchair just to get to the front of the line quicker. I mean, in principle, it sounds like a smart thing to do, but to take it off somebody with the excuse that, "Oh, my kid's retired," that's just a horrible thing to do. This happened maybe 2 months back or so. To give some background, I'm a teenager with autism. I'm not someone who is open about it, but there have been situations where I've been forced to explain that I'm autistic. I don't have it on a severe scale to the point where I need to be monitored or worked out or anything like that, but I struggle with social situations, and to cope with this, I'll carry a small stuffed animal, scarf, or something like that to keep myself calm. These are commonly referred to as sensory toys. It was the weekend, and we just done a few end of term exams at school. I thought to cool off after a busy week, I would go to McDonald's for a meal. My mum gave me some money and packed my small plush sloth into my purse, just in case. I began walking to the McDonald's, which is roughly a 15 to 20-minute walk away. I arrive and order my food and take a seat. I got my sketchbook and begin doodling while I wait for my food. I got out my sloth too because I was starting to get a bit anxious. After 4 minutes or so, I noticed a little girl, we'll call her Lucy, who looked about the age of 7, eyeballing my sloth. I'm not amazing at social interactions, so I decided to just play it off like I didn't notice and continue to it. She then walks up to me and just stares at me. I look up and the conversation goes something like this. "Hi there. I love your sloth. Thank you. Can I have it?" Again, I'm terrible with interactions and just said no, sweetly but firmly, not wanting to cause a scene or seem immature. She then gives
Okay,
me
so
a
I
pouty
will
frown and wanders off.
and you
About a minute later, she's back with her mum,
exercise
who we'll call Karen. Karen then compliments my sloth, just like her daughter did before, and offers me £8 for it. I paid £5 for it. I tried to keep calm and explain I needed that sloth, and she could buy her own one from a shop that was literally 15 minutes away from here. When Karen realized I wasn't going to budge, she turned nasty. She began insulting me and said, "For God's sake, you're old enough to be in secondary school. Stop being such a big baby." At this point, I thought maybe explaining why I needed it would make her leave me alone. I calmly and quietly said, "Look, man, I have autism and I need this sloth with me for personal reasons. So please stop trying to buy it off me. It's a sensory toy and it's mine." My food arrived and I thanked the actress. I grabbed my things and my food and made my way to the door. No way I wanted to be with her for much longer. I put the sloth in my purse and got up. I thought that would be the end of it, right? Yeah, of course it was. As I got up, Lucy grabbed the sloth out of my purse and ran behind her mum. I demanded she give back my sloth. Karen then yells, "You took that sloth from my daughter. Honestly, you should be ashamed of yourself." Eventually, a guy that worked there had been notified by another customer what was going on. He then looked at both of us. Karen then goes, "Can you please remove this young lady from the restaurant? She is clearly mentally unstable." And the waiter then said, "Sure, I will as soon as you give her back her stuffed animal." So Karen defeatedly snatches the toy out of her daughter's hand and left cussing both me and the waiter out. Meanwhile, Lucy was bawling her eyes out. Long story short, I was able to enjoy my cold chicken select meal, but hey, I got a free small milkshake to compensate. I really do not understand what makes people think they are entitled to other people's belongings. In this case, though, it wasn't even just the mother, it was the daughter as well that initiated this. I remember a few videos ago I made a comment around entitlement being entitled, and there were a few people who didn't agree. This is just another example of how a parent being entitled is breeding through to their children being just as entitled. I'm not saying it's always going to happen, but this mother is teaching her daughter that it's okay to try and get whatever she wants, however she wants to get it. So this one has a little bit of backstory. I'm going to condense it, but if you want to pause and read it now, you can. Basically, when this person was younger, they went to a fair, they had an old rusty bike, and they were trying to win a new one. And that's where the story begins. It was a pain and a half getting to the fair, but I got there, and an hour and a half, the raffle started. There were 2 adult bikes that year. One was this awesome looking black and silver Max bike, speed years ago. I wanted that bike so bad.
and
The
we will
raffle
get her
starts,
to
and one by one,
breakfast.
the bikes are getting won. Another adult bike was taken by some girl, leaving the silver one and two toddler-sized bikes. I was begging the ticket gods to let me win. And my ticket number was called, and I started cheering and saying here when they called for it. And this other lady next to me starts cheering with me. I had no idea who this lady was or why she was cheering with me, but when I held up my ticket, she snatched it from my hand and went up to the bikes. I was just dumbfounded. Keep in mind that I was 14 at the time, and this woman just took my ticket and went up to the bikes with the kid, who I recognized. I went to school with him, and his dad was one of the firemen at the town, the same firemen who were holding the raffle for the fair. I wasn't having it. I chased up after her to the bikes and yelled, I won. You stole my ticket. This lady, the entitled mum, looked at me and said, this is a boy's bike. A girl couldn't win this bike, and grabbed the beautiful silver bike. I turned to the fireman and tried to explain that she took my ticket from me when her husband came up. My wife wouldn't take your ticket. Don't start lying because you didn't win. Kids like you are going to ruin a raffle for everyone. In the end, I didn't get the bike, and I got threatened to be banned from the fair if I didn't win. For one of the first times in this series, I have nothing to say about this one. This is just scummy and goes to show how horrible people are.
Okay.
Alright everyone, that is that for today's video, and as always I just want to start off by saying